Welcome, my name is James and I am here to make sure that you get the job that you deserve by crushing your next interview. If you want to know how to answer interview questions or just any tips and tricks, continue to watch my channel and continue to watch this video because today we are going to go over the question, tell me about a time when you have faced a challenge and how you overcame it. Tell me about a time when you have failed and how you overcame that failure. This question is a little bit different than tell me about your biggest weakness. They're both negative questions, right? You're both going to navigate them a little bit differently. You're going to need to answer them wisely, but they are different questions. And the way you can tell this is a different question is because of those 5 key words. Tell me about a time. This is a neon sign flashing, I'm a behavioral question. And when we answer behavioral questions, we're going to use the STAR format, which I'll get into a little bit later. Before we get started constructing our answer, we need to talk about the real question that the interviewer is asking. Not the words that they're saying, the real answer that they want to hear, the real question that they are asking. Oh no, but James, didn't they ask you, tell me about a time you failed? No, they did not. I mean, technically they did, but common misconception is to listen to the words that the interviewer asks when they're asking you questions. In fact, you need to read between the lines or beneath the surface or whatever metaphor you want to use and recognize that the question they're asking isn't usually the question they're actually asking. We want to figure out the question they are actually asking. Now, in this question, what they're actually asking is tell me about a time you succeeded. They want to know about a time where you may have faced a failure, but you came up with a plan. You followed that plan, and in fact, you were successful. Everything worked out great because of your ideas, because you crushed it, because you were everything that team needed to get out of this shit situation, right? That's what they really want to know. They want to know that you are the team member who can turn around any failure into a success. They don't care about the failure itself. They care about the person who can produce results. That's why they ask this question. If it puts you in the correct light, you need to answer this question in a way that helps you stand out. Don't talk about the failure, talk about the success. Now, am I saying that you should just ignore that first half of the question? You know, the one where they literally ask you about your failure? No, you can't just ignore it. I'm sorry. I know I made it sound like you could, but you can't, right? But we need to address the fact that the failure is just the setup for the success. So it's not the worst thing in the world, right? But we do need to have a couple guidelines when we are addressing our failure so that it doesn't stand out as something that is against us. We need to use the failure to bolster our success, not use the failure to show how much we suck, right? There's a difference. So here's the 3 steps that we're going to take to make sure that when we talk about our failure, it is only used to set up our success. Number 1 thing that we're going to do when we get the question, tell us about a time you failed, is try to spin it as something that's not a failure. We want to use some sort of challenge or scenario that was out of our control. Maybe someone else messed up, but we had to clean up their mess, right? Something like that. You can't always do this, but if they ask about a challenge that you faced rather than a failure, jump on that situation because that's something that you can use to your advantage to show that you're here to make the whole scenario better, even if it wasn't your fault, rather than you're an incompetent mess who happened to clean up his own mess. So if they are actually asking about a time you failed, which sometimes you can't get around, right? It's not a challenge, it's a failure, then you gotta, okay? But we're going to avoid anything close to the job role that we are going to, right? We don't want to give them any excuse to think that we suck at this job before we even get this job, right? No excuse to think that we're incompetent in this job area. So we're going to pick something that is outside of that, whether it's personal or professional. We've failed a lot in life, or at least I've failed a lot in life. I imagine you have too. We all suck at everything, okay? So you should have plenty of choices to pick from, okay? But we're going to avoid the area that is this job role and pick something else on the peripherals that still allow us to show our success from that failure. If you can get away with it, Utilizing a personal failure instead of a professional failure is not a bad way to go. It shows that you aren't necessarily incompetent in your professional and technical skills, and it can also be relatable with the interviewer. An added benefit to using a personal challenge or personal failure is beyond the fact that you can just make a plan, follow the plan, and succeed. It shows that you have a strength of character that the interviewer might actually relate to. We all have personal struggles in life, and they all are usually pretty different, but they all tend to have similar underlying struggles. So being able to relate to the interviewer, one, is great, but two, also allows them to really empathize with you and appreciate the fact that you had a challenge, faced the challenge, and became a stronger person when you succeeded and passed that challenge. And those are the kind of people that they really want on their team. They want to know that you can face challenges and succeed and move on with your life, and that you're the kind of person who actually finishes these struggles. Remember, only half of this interview process is showing them that you are technically competent at the job that you were going for. Once you have met that threshold, the rest of this whole interview is actually just getting them to like you. You want them to leave this interview thinking, this is the kind of person that I want to work with day in and day out. So we need to take every opportunity to show them that. And this one is actually a great question for being able to relate to the interviewer and get them to feel that you're the kind of person who would be a good fit for the team that they're on. So now that we've gone over the guidelines of how you are going to address your failure aspect of the question, we're going to take a step back and take a look at the whole question, the whole response overall. And the way we're going to answer that entire response is using the STAR format. Now, for those of you who don't know, the STAR format is the way that we answer behavioral interview questions. And so we're going to take a look at the STAR format now as a quick review before we get into our examples. The STAR technique stands for situation, task, action, results. The situation here is going to be the failure, right? We just talked about this. We need to set up our success. And so we're going to follow the guidelines we just discussed to talk about our failure. That is the situation. The task is our plan to move forward, to move past the failure. How are we going to get to our success? The action is going to be the steps that we took to accomplish this plan, and the result is exactly what you think it is, how we crushed it, how we succeeded. This is where you brag. This is what everything is leading up to. So again, situation, task, action, result. Let's get into an example. A few years ago, I had just gotten my first position as a manager of a technical consulting team. I received my first project and had a meeting with the client to get an idea of what they were looking for. After that initial meeting, we worked hard throughout the entire next month to complete the project based on our client's initial ask. However, when we presented our progress, they didn't like it at all. After this meeting, we had to throw away most of our work, and I knew we had made a mistake in our process. Moving forward, I was determined to have more frequent check-ins with the client and present progress as it was completed. I broke the project up into 5 deliverable phases and had weekly touch points with the client to ensure we were creating exactly what they wanted and could adapt our process based on their feedback. By following this plan, we were able to receive constant feedback from the client and deliver smaller incremental products in each phase, eventually resulting in a final product that the client was extremely pleased with. Now, you'll notice in this scenario, I really kind of breezed over the whole failure part of the situation because we don't care about the failure, we care about the success. And really, we don't even care whose fault it was. If it wasn't your fault, that's generally better, but who cares, right? In the real world, we care about success. We don't care about whose fault it was. We care about how we actually resolved the situation. And in this scenario, you resolve the situation by using your creativity. You resolve the situation by using your skills and your processes. And that's why you're the member that they are going to hire, right? You need to show that you succeeded in a way that others couldn't and that you are better than everybody else because you are a problem solver and you add value to this team. And that's what this question is really meant to ask, and that's how you are meant to answer this question. And that's why we answer the question this way. If you've ever been asked this question before in your interviews, leave a comment below to let us know how it worked. Subscribe to my channel if you're interested in this kind of interview content and if you're interested in moving forward in your dream career. And the next step in pursuing your dream career is by checking out this video right here. Yep.